Hi, I'm Josh Kettleson.
And I'm Christo Schultz.
What, Christo, is the difference? And give us a 30,000-foot view of this. What's the difference between a trust and a will? When do you know you need a trust, for example?
Yeah,
or what is a trust?
Good question, Josh. So a trust, and what it allows you to do is to control some assets beyond the grave in a way that's even more in depth than a will. And so it gives you the ability to set up an asset or a holding tank to take your assets and from there distribute them or maintain them with however you want. And just to give you an example, with a basic will, what you're going to get is it's going to say, at my death, I want this to go to my children equally, I want this to go to my spouse, something like that. With a trust, you can say, I want my assets to go into this trust, and from there it can say, I want the assets to remain in trust, to just distribute out income, or to only distribute out other assets for whenever my children need a vehicle, a home. It gives you a lot more control with regards to that. Now, there are millions upon millions of ways that you can get a trust document outlined and laid out to control absolutely everything from the grave. And so choosing whether you need a trust or a will is going to be a conversation you want to have with both your financial advisor and your attorney. But I will tell you, with regards to a trust, it does give you substantially more control over your assets than a will. But it's not for everybody. What are your thoughts with regards to trusts and wills?
You know, a couple of thoughts is, yes, we commonly say you're controlling your assets beyond the grave, because this document effectively lays out very clearly what your intentions are. But it's important to realize you're dead. The trust document in itself, if not designed properly by a good lawyer, can have some ramifications also. For example, in the trust document, you need to name a trustee. Do you name Uncle Bill your trustee? Well, if Uncle Bill's older than you, what happens if Uncle Bill isn't very good with money matters? Do you name your spouse? Do you name your lawyer? Or do you name a institution, a company like Midland States Bank to be your trustee for your trust? That's a big consideration, because that's really how your wishes are going to be executed. But besides that, I like to look at trust also as a way to protect assets. Protect what you have and what your children will have one day. I'll give you a quick example. Let's say you've accumulated wealth and you have a trust set up, and the trust says that upon your death, your children are to receive all your assets, 100%, no conditions involved. They just receive it, and the wish is that they have their own trust, and they are the trustee of their own trust. This does a couple of very important things. That trust that you just established for your children beyond the grave protects them from things like creditors. If your children have some type of money problem, the trust protects that, because it's not their money, it's a trust money. They're just a beneficiary of it and of the trustee. It also protects them from ex-spouses. So if there is a divorce that happens down the line, there will be no question of what type of assets these are. Are they premarital or marital assets? The trust clearly defines what that is. It doesn't have to be like that either, Christo. It doesn't have to be a divorce. Say something happens to one of your children and they don't have their assets protected in trust. Their wife or spouse will now inherit that money potentially as a spousal asset, correct? Which is what we want for our spouses. But then let's say she remarries, or he remarries, and then something happens to her or him. Now your legacy, your assets, could be sitting in the hands of someone you've never met before. And that is not completely uncommon, but it's something to think about. I like to set it up like that, to say this is not just protection for you, it's protection for your children as well.
Yeah, I think back to the 30,000-foot view, Josh, the trust offers more protection and more options. And so if a basic will doesn't get what you want done with regard to your estate, a trust is likely the next place to go.
But do you have to be rich? Do you have to be financially affluent to either A, want a trust, or B, even need a trust?
Yeah, the answer is no. The answer is absolutely no. And the reason being is that regardless of how much money you have, how many assets you have, however you want your estate to flow at your passing, that's really what should determine if you need a trust or not. Obviously, having a lawyer write up trust documents is going to cost you a little bit more to have it done, but if that's worthwhile for you, there's no reason not to. And so the answer is just a resounding no on that. You don't have to be wealthy.
Great.